Hey folks, this is Krista of Knowledgeable Cabbage Comics. Today I'm going to be talking about an excellent short comic called Gauntlet with story by Sam Owen and Leslie Julian and art by Sam Owen. This comic is self-published and tells the story of Shay, a pretty rockin' protagonist whose car accident lands her in a bit of a limbo space. She receives a giant glove and has to punch her way to heaven. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about Shay. I think she's a really good protagonist in a couple ways. I think Owen and Julian both kind of balance the badass nature of her with good design and a little bit of fallibility, too. There are a lot of ass-kicking female protagonists out there in comics. It can be easy to bounce off of them sometimes because you don't ever really see either the stakes that got them to this point or the stakes in the story moving forward. And Shay's really cool because she's really determined. She's not afraid necessarily to forge forward when she gets the gauntlet and the monster comes out and everyone else runs. She's definitely the one who sticks around. You can see it on her face that she's just like, no, I have something that I need to do here and I'm going to do it. And we get a lot of comedy and a lot of really ingenious character design and kind of situational design as well as the story goes on. Shay's aesthetic is also pretty cool. She's relatable because of Owen's cartooning, but she also has kind of this punk edge to her, which signals visually, as well as what we pick up through the storytelling, that she's not afraid to take care of herself, advocate for herself, and kick a couple demons in the nuts. So that's a bonus. So one of the other things I really enjoyed about Gauntlet was the creature design. And I think Julian and Owen work really well together to kind of hit that right level of cartoon detail. You don't want too many things of visual interest in a character on a page because when they move or when they're in dynamic action, it becomes really hard to differentiate between them and their surroundings, them and Shay, especially because this comic is black and white. So you do need to be careful, and I think they do a really good job. We have the pharma bro, we have the judge, we have the cop, and they're both sinister and kind of charming and amusing at the same time. And as we see, Shay has kind of increasingly complex and competent ways of defeating all of them, and it's just a good time. Another thing that makes Gauntlet successful as a comic is Owen's good command of sequential storytelling. And Julian really lets Owen's skills thrive on the page by keeping the dialogue pretty minimal. None of it is plot-centric. Shay asks a couple questions along the way that anyone would ask, along the lines of what is going on. And those moments are both humorous and a good reminder that we're in the POV of someone who is figuring it out. But most of what's delivered to us is through the art, and that's good because Owen can absolutely handle that. There is one spot during the fight with the judge demon where it's not entirely clear for a moment what's happening or where people are in space. There are some pillars falling, and there's one panel that's a little bit confusing. But for the most part, there's a ton of physicality, and it's delivered really well. So in addition to good design and good sequential action, we also have the good fortune of reading a black and white comic that is actually designed to be delivered that way. A lot of black and white comics, sometimes, to be frank, you can tell that the team either made a decision to or couldn't afford a colorist. So there's not enough depth on the page, there's not enough high contrast, and there's just not enough attention paid to kind of minimizing certain details that would pop with color but otherwise just don't work if you're going black and white. Owen and Julian really do a good job of giving us that contrast. A lot of the backgrounds feature pretty heavy black inks that contrast really nicely with everything else that's going on the page. Shay has a really good mix of dark and light colors in her clothing. And in general, when we get to heaven, some of Sam's line clarifies in a particular way that makes it clear that while we're in a different location, different light sources, etc., it's still pretty clear what's going on. And so that's really nice. Overall, Gauntlet succeeds because it's entertaining and it has good craft. Julian's dialogue is snappy without being too quippy, and Owen and Julian have a really unique and engaging sense of humor that I think comes through both in the design and the storytelling. That's a wrap on Gauntlet today, folks. I will include some links below so you can follow Sam Owen and Leslie Julian on Twitter and see what they're working on. As for me, you can follow me on Twitter at Cabbage Comics, and make sure to check out kc-comics.com for more balanced critique in an unbalanced world. Take good care.